Today on the show, we sit down with the Daedric Prince of Madness himself, legendary actor Wes Johnson, for a conversation on interactive storytelling, memorable characters, and whatever else comes up. Welcome to Lore Party, the podcast that explores the stories, characters, and universes of our favorite video games. I'm Connor.
I'm Bruce.
And we have a real treat for you this time. We are so excited to announce a very special guest. You may know him as Mr. Burke and Fox from Fallout 3, Mo Cronin and the Silver Shroud from Fallout 4, and of course, the one and only Daedric Prince of Madness, Sheogorath, from Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Skyrim Online, and a bunch of others. So many more roles to name. Well, you might not know, he's also a renowned sketch and stand-up comedian with a long list of on-camera roles in movies like Don't Look Up, television shows like Veep. He's been all over the place, but right now he's here. And it's our genuine pleasure to introduce and welcome Wes Johnson to the show. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing wonderfully, Connor. Bruce, there ain't no party like a lore party.
Oh my god, he said my name in the voice.
We're a little starstruck right now, yeah.
It's a pleasure to meet both of you. Glad to be here.
Amazing to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's a genuine pleasure.
It is truly an honor. It has it's truly a long shot to get here, but you have been such a gracious guest to even, grace us with your presence.
To even answer the email.
The person we have to thank is my wife, who's letting me get away for the evening to come hang out with you guys. So thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim. Our eternal gratitude to Kim.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson.
Yes. So it's actually a funny story. This conversation's a long time coming. Well, it's about a month in the making of, back in January, the three of us met in person at an amazing event called MagFest in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love MagFest. It's a great time. And yeah, occasionally that event will have celebrity signings and meetups. And we were like, dude, Bruce, Wes Johnson's going to be there. Let's go meet him. So the rest is history. I emailed a little later, like, hey, let's chat. And no, it's so glad we were able to do this.
And you guys came by the line. You stood in that freaking long line to come say hello. You could have just walked up to me at any time.
It was well worth it. I was able to get a headshot signed by you.
Which one? You got the Sheo?
I think I got the one. I asked you to sign Halt Criminal Scum when you signed.
Right, yeah.
I think that's the one.
Halt Criminal Scum. Your stolen forks are now forfeit.
Oh my god, this is awesome.
That's so cool.
How many forks have you stolen, criminal?
Can you do me a solid? Can you just say one time for me, then pay with your blood?
Then pay with your blood. That's a lot easier, by the way, just to pay with Visa. So get that out of the way.
Like, really, all you need to do is just return the stolen goods, pay a fine, and you're
Seriously,
good.
you go up there, you go up to the grocery store, and they're like, will that be cash? Will that be charged? Or will you pay with your blood?
Yeah, you're going to get a side gig just at a grocery store.
Absolutely.
I would be fired the first time,
Yeah.
Some poor little old lady going, he wanted me to pay with my blood.
Wes,
It'd be a good story, though.
Doing that, man. We got to let you go.
This is seriously like tickling so many nostalgic hairs on the back of my head for me. Like
all I have on the back of my head are nostalgic hairs. It's sort of slipped away a little bit.
So before we get too much further into it, we do have a little bit of housekeeping to take care of. Just want to remind the listeners out there that we'd love to hear from them. Please email us anytime you'd like at podcast@loreparty.com with your thoughts, your episode ideas, criticisms, anything. Let us have it.
You never write. You never call.
Listen to Wes and give us a line. Yeah. You can also get in touch with Bruce on Twitter at Bruce Walton, and you can get in touch with me on Twitter at Connor Howard VO. And of course, you can connect with the whole team on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter at lore_party.
Basically, these guys are really, really easy to stalk if you want to.
Yeah, like we're not hard to find. Yeah. So, what we're going to get into today, we have so many questions for our esteemed guest, and we're going to just get into some crazy stories, I'm sure. But we're going to talk, career highlights. We want to talk about the stories behind the iconic characters you've portrayed, and whatever else comes up, much, much more.
All right.
But before we get into that, do you have any projects or upcoming appearances or anything you'd like to plug while you're here?
Well, I'm about getting ready to go on the King Con cruise, which is fantastic. Duke Nukem, John St. John himself, runs this cruise. We're going down to meet folks in. We're going to leave from Orlando, and we're going to travel via a big boat to the Bahamas, and it's going to be like a video game convention on the ocean. And I'm going to be there. John St. John will be there. D.C. Douglas, who's Albert Wesker from Resident Evil. Richard Epcar, Richard Raiden, and the Joker, and Ellen Stern is going to be there. And we're just going to have a party. We're going to do a Voice of Palooza panel, which I do at all the different conventions I go to. And we do a charity with Voice of Palooza every year, but it's usually a laugh riot. And we're going to go with all the guests, and we're just going to go snorkeling, and we're going to go kayaking, and we're going to go to Nassau, Bahamas, and hang out there. And some of us are going to go to like the fish fry and sit around and eat fried snapper together. It's going to be fantastic. I love to go to the cons. I love to go to MagFest, which, as you know, is the music and gaming festival. And that's sort of like one of my hometown cons. I go there as often as I can. I love like an awesome con or something of that nature. But the King Con cruise, this is the third one we've done. Unfortunately, we had to take a break because of the pandemic. But you get so much closer and very personal with everybody because you're hanging out on a boat together. Like the times at MagFest where, we're sitting around and we're just chatting. At this place, we're all just sitting around having a drink, or we're out on a beach and we've got a big pineapple filled with frozen rum. And it goes from an ask me anything kind of situation to just you get to pal around with the people that you play the games with. So that's incredible. And then there's karaoke night. Which is like
karaoke with
man,
you guys.
Let me tell you something. Bad singing and alcohol. Alcohol is the only way to get through it. And then there's actually a couple's going to get married. John has been ordained. I've been ordained as well. If anybody ever wanted to get Sheogorath.
Get married by Sheogorath.
Yes, we just got married last year. Where the hell were you?
Bruce and I are both recently married, and we wish we'd known this sooner.
You got married to each other?
He wishes.
I'll do it again.
But it's going to be a pirate wedding. It's going to be a pirate-themed wedding on the ocean. So we're going to have a great time with that. And I'm working on a Star Trek film right now called Farragut Forward, where I'm in full Klingon makeup. I've done Klingons and all sorts of characters in the Star Trek video games like Legacy, and there's a couple of others where I've even done one. I think in Legacy I had a nice couple scenes with Patrick Stewart as a Klingon in battle with him.
Wow.
I've worked with Patrick Stewart twice, had lines interacting with him, and never met him once.
Wow.
How what?
I was one of the guards. How was he? I was one of the guards in Skyrim that led him out. Well, he didn't quite get out the way he wanted to.
Oh, Oblivion.
In Oblivion, yes.
Yeah,
the
Emperor gets.
That's right. Yeah, I was one of the guards in there with him.
That's right.
And,
that's awesome.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart is just wonderful. But being able to be a Klingon in the video games and never actually playing one, they're doing this Farragut Forward. It's like a fan film kind of thing, and they're on Indiegogo right now. It's still fundraising. They've gotten for Star Trek, you can get up to a $50,000 budget, and they're up to 35. So they're trying to make this the best. It's a movie era version, and it looks great so far. And the makeup is like 100% professional. I look like a Klingon.
Awesome.
I wanted to just wear it home. They've given me these fake teeth I put in. And when I tried them on, I kept trying to nuzzle on my wife's neck, and she was not having it. Not having it, no. I did a thing called Sanctuary recently where I played a very bad man. We filmed that one in L.A., where I beat up some kids, including the kid who played young Ricky Bobby in Talladega Nights.
No way.
Yeah, I felt like I wanted to keep beating him, say, if you're not first, you're last, But, yeah, he was wonderful, and the kids were great in that, and we became pals off set, but I had to, my beard was darker and bigger and bushier, and my hair was like Nick Nolte on a Bender kind of look. And I got stopped by TSA going into, trying to go to LA. They pulled me over because I looked very suspicious suddenly. They went through my luggage, tossed it like a salad, and my earbuds, they threw my earbuds out onto the floor. Then they picked them up and said, "These yours?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah, those are mine. Thanks." Put them in my pocket.
What the?
Get on the airplane. Kids crying 3 seats behind me. I'm like,
of course,
it's time for noise cancellation. Let's go superpowers. And I open up my case. It's empty.
No.
The buds are gone. So I run and find my iPhone on it, and I can see they're still there at the airport, but I'm already on the plane, so I can't get off.
No.
They probably fell out when they
5 hours later, when we land, I run the iPhone again. One of my earpods has gone to an apartment building in Alexandria, Virginia. The other earpod is in Dierks, Arkansas.
What?
Why?
So, okay. Just kind of. Someone took one.
We're talking some real spatial stereo right there.
Yeah, that's really spatial.
Yeah.
It'd be great if it was still paired.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ended up having to get new earbuds. But the Sanctuary is going to be really cool. Did a horror movie that hopefully will be coming out in a while. It was Eduardo Sanchez was the director, and Jamie Nash is the writer and director. And I have a small part in which I play a local college professor from a community college at a bar. It's at a bar at a bowling alley, trying to pick up an Instagram model. Yeah, my line is that I'm trying to talk to her about the Battle of Hastings. It's not successful, guys.
Doesn't go over well.
All
right.
I guess not. Yeah,
he doesn't do well.
Well, that line usually works for me. So
does it really? The Battle of Hastings
might be a skill issue.
You start bringing up the Saxons, and they're like,
That's what does it. Yeah, usually. I don't know.
So those are all very cool, and there are things, of course, NDA wise, I can't talk about.
Of course,
but I'm very excited about the upcoming new year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I bet. Sounds like you got a lot ahead of you.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Awesome. Well, that's a teaser of what we have coming up after this.
Oh, it was a teaser. I just gave you a whole buffet. Sorry.
Yeah, that was
Morgan. There's more to come, and we're going to get into it after this quick break to hear from our sponsors. So stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back with special guest Wes Johnson. Again, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure already, and we had a few questions we wanted to get into while we have you. And I was curious about just if you could tell us a little bit about your early career. How did you first get into performance art? How did you first catch the acting bug and fall in love with comedy and acting? And all that?
I've been in love with acting ever since I was a young kid and got brought up on stage during a magic act as a comic foil for some magician, and hearing the crowd laughing, and I was infected with the bug. I got bit real hard, and we started performing in backyards. We do things for the muscular dystrophy and raise money, and we put a show on in the backyard. Hey kids, let's do a show. I used to watch the old creature feature back in the day, the horror host Count Gordeval, and I'd mail things like a rubber shark and a glass eyeball into him, and he'd open them up on the air and put them on anniversary cakes and things of that sort. And I was like, yes. Taking my mother's wig, her best wig, cutting all the hair off of it, gluing it to my face to become a werewolf like Lon Chaney, and putting it on a pair of my best gloves covered with fur, and taking a picture, to send in to Count Gordeval, which made it on the air. Which to me made the lifetime restriction worth it. But the funny thing is that I ended up becoming friends with Dick Dysel, who played Count Gordeval years later, and he just had his 50th anniversary recently up at the AFI, and they showed a 4K release of The Shining. And beforehand, we all get to come up, and he invited me, as well as a number of other people, like other horror hosts, and Arch Campbell, a local celebrity, and people of that nature, to come up and talk, and he invited me to do that. So I went out, and I got a black box, filled it with this blood red paper, and I went and bought a rubber shark, and a fake eyeball. And
Nice.
I presented to him for his 50th anniversary the same thing I presented to him when I was 13 years old, except a much better version of each of those. So
that's amazing.
That was like a nice full circle kind of thing for me. So I've been, from that, I ended up going into stand-up when I got out. Everybody does their high school drama. I had a great teacher in George Robert Allen there. Went into stand-up comedy, started doing sketch comedy. Doing multiple different characters, started getting the notice of a local radio station called WHFS, which was an alternative legend in the D.C. area. And they brought me on to the morning show. And I started doing voices and impressions and comedy and producing things. I ended up getting songs on Dr. Demento and things of that nature.
Way.
Yeah. Doing William Shatner, "You Klingon bastard, you've killed my son." In our comedy troupe, we did a thing called the William Shatner School of Acting, which we reprised later on Funny or Die.
Nice.
And we did it like a learning annex kind of thing. And when it was on Funny or Die, I put it on Twitter, and I actually tagged William Shatner on it. And when I sent it, I was like, what have I done? And he responded with, sounds more like Cagney, with a little winky emoticon. And I thought, God, that's the best I could possibly hope for right there. Best I could.
Yeah, not a restraining order.
So, doing stuff like that with HFS, I ended up working with Wolfman Jack. That's right, baby, the great Wolfman Jack. And I worked with him for a couple of years until he passed away. We were doing a national radio show. Started getting into films. And then I got a call to do some video game voice work. I think the first thing I did was for a thing called Unreal 2. Where they asked me to I didn't get a role. I was doing effort sounds. I was brought in for 4 straight hours of dying as many different people as I possibly could. I was the living...
Just grunting and yelling.
I was the living embodiment of the Wilhelm scream. It's, okay, Wes, in this one you're going to get a harpoon to the eye. Ah! All right, Wes, in this one you get caught in your own zipper. Ah! So those were the things I did for that. But then I got the call for... Morrowind. And I'd done animation, I'd done characters with animation before, but Morrowind was a different kind of thing. And Todd Howard was actually the director, voice director. And, so getting to do characters like when you first get off the boat, and it's like, yes, we've been expecting you. Come right in. Tell us a little bit
That's
about
you
yourself.
too. I didn't know that.
Someone takes your sweet role. What do you do? And then I was all the Bretons. I was a number of different characters. I was all the orcs back in that one. So we spent many hours doing those sessions, and they called me back for Oblivion, and I got to work with Mark Lampert, the director there. And Mark is wonderful. Mark is fantastic, and he's like, I know what you did, but I don't necessarily want to do the Bretons this time. They'd gotten Ralph Cosham was going to do the Bretons, and Ralph. Rest his soul, Ralph was the very best. I would have paid to listen to Ralph read the phone book.
He did amazing work with those like the Breton voices were so soothing. Like they were so just buttery rich.
Ralph was just the best, and they wanted an Imperial, so he started working with me on what we wanted an Imperial to sound like, and I ended up getting the roles of all the Imperials. And as we're going through, we come across this one character. And he says, Wes, they get on the microphone, Wes, this one's a little different. This guy here is a little darker than the rest of them that you've been playing. He's coming from sort of an evil faction. He's an assassin. So I get this idea in my mind of what I want this guy to look like. Yeah. And that's what you do in voice acting. You picture who you are. You picture who you're talking to. You picture your environments. And frankly, after having been in Morrowind and playing it for like 600 some odd hours, there are nights when I was playing Morrowind where I would go to sleep and I would see cliff racers and stilt striders in my dreams,
Same. Yeah, big same.
So I could close my eyes and imagine that world. So when I'm voicing now for Oblivion, I'm in that world. I'm there. And it made it so much more personal. And having experienced and played in the RPG world of Morrowind gave me much more experience. Which is why I talk to other voice actors. And some of them are like, well, I never play the games. I just don't play the games. I say, you're missing out. You have to play the games. You have to get involved in it. If you want to be immersive and live in that world, you need to live in that world. And so
that's just like doing research. Yeah. Just knowing.
So
material.
For each of these characters, I lived in that world. And when I got to Lucian, I started thinking of this gaunt, dark circles under the eyes, hair long and stringy, like maybe, the character, the guy in Rocky Horror, Richard O'Brien's character in Rocky Horror, but baldish and greasy and creepy, crooked back. And as I'm reading him, I'm almost twisting like Joe Cocker in there. They said, "Oh, you were going through some contortions." Yes, dear child of cities, the night mother, she loves you. So. Playing with that character and doing this, I just deeply dived into this guy's psyche and into who he was. And really, I loved being able to do that and break the race mold that we had for all the other characters in Oblivion, because every other character, whether you're the gray fox or you're the head of the guards or you're this, they all have the same voice. Obviously, there was a lot of crossbreeding and in Oblivion, but
a little bit.
Being able to do something different and break that helped Lucian stand out from everybody else. And then then the designers get a hold of him and make him look like Benjamin Bratt. They make him this really like handsome, gorgeous guy, and women are looking at him going, "Oh my God, he's gorgeous." And he has the heart of evil, the perfect man. So, the package between the two of those just worked, I thought, very well. And it really helped Lucian stand out. And I think because of the Lucian experiment and doing a different voice, and for them hearing how it stood out from the rest of them, when we went to do Shivering Isles, they wanted every character to be different. You'll notice that in Shivering Isles, there's so many different voices. Even some of the Imperial Guards sound slightly different. One of them, because I had a terrible, terrible cold that day, I had a horrifyingly bad cold, but it was the guard who's standing outside the Shivering Isles gate. So if you go out there and you're at the mouth of madness on the aisle before you go into the Shivering Isles, if that guy sounds like he's been out in the cold too long and been suffering, and you're thinking, "My God, what great acting." No, I was sicker than a dog. But
no, that's method acting. Don't worry about it.
But I love doing different characters. I love doing characters that nobody knows that I'm doing them. Like Hermaeus Mora sounds different than Lucian LeChance, and Shea Gorath and Mo Cronin sounds different, and the Silver Shroud sounds different than the Super Mutants or the Protectrons. Even in Shivering Isles, there's Dias, the old man in a cave, who, the torturer, the torturer, I'm him, and he has a different voice. And Hermnus Columnus, the suicidal guy who wants you to kill him, has a different voice, and I don't want people to know I'm the same guy. So if you can tell it's me and everyone, more power to you. But if you can't, that's what brings me joy. It brings me joy to be able to play multiple different characters and not have people associate them with each other sound alike, which is very different from what we had in Morrowind and what we had in Oblivion. And it's a challenge each time to create a new character that stands on its own as their own and doesn't necessarily bring back, except for one, they asked me to almost reprise a character from the Elder Scrolls into the Fallout world. Can you guess who that was?
Ooh, I'm gonna guess.
I stripped away the accent and all affectations, but the voice was same range.
I kind of feel like Mr. Burke was like Lucian if he lived in Fallout.
Exactly right, and that's what they were. That's what they were looking for.
Nice.
They wanted Mr. Burke to be a Lucian type voice, and I was like, okay, he's great, but he can't have the same affectations. He doesn't come from the same background, but they're both right in here. Lucian LeChance has a little bit of an accent, and he can be a bit much with what he says, dear child. But Mr. Burke, he's there. Mr. Burke doesn't have the accent. I want you to blow this cesspool megaton off the map.
Wow.
Amazing.
Mr. Tenpenny will be very happy with you. But you lose the accent. You lose the affectation. But you live right there in the same place.
Oh my God.
It's just those subtle changes that like really morph it for like a different character.
Yeah.
And I will have to say, like, when I was doing my research, I'm just like, okay, Wes Johnson, that Sheogorath guy, and like, you know, just to just stroke your ego, I was just like, he did what? He did what now? And I just kept going down the list. I'm just like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
well, he's got the ring.
I keep getting surprised. Like, what? That one too?
The one that's closest to my own natural voice that I did was Scribe Bigsley. Except Scribe Bigsley is just irritated and exhausted and really pissy all the time. If you ask my wife, that is me. But that you know, you can change even when you're using your own voice with your attitude, with where you're coming from, with what the history is of the character, who they are, can change it a bit. But it still was in my range. It was still my solid state. It was still kind of my voice. Like, whereas, you know, Mo Cronin from Diamond City, he's more up in here. He's got sort of that, you know, Boston kind of accent. You know, hey, let me tell you something. You want to know how to play baseball? Yeah, I like my way better.
It's truly amazing to just see it all happen in front of me. The process of like, if you just change the placement a little bit, if you just change your attitude a little bit. I'm not to toot my horn too much. I'm a bit of an actor myself, and like I've learned this amazing technique from one of my coaches, the amazing David Sobolov. I don't know if you've met him or
I've heard
of him, but he's an amazing actor, great coach, and you know, just what he always says is, you know, just to have a conversation.
Yeah,
like, you know, you talk about like decide who your character is and what they look like, but also who you're talking to. Like, just have a conversation.
You really need to visualize who you're talking to. A lot of these things are things I teach a class through Theater Lab DC, which is at theaterlab.org or maybe theaterlabdc.org, but I think it's just theaterlab.org. And we're just finishing up a class right now. We do a 6-week course, and I work with folks for like, it's supposed to be 2.5 hours. I generally go 3, and sometimes we go a little bit long. But I want everybody to be able to, I think it's important to hear other people as well. But this is right. The biggest challenge is not necessarily making it so that everybody sounds different. The biggest challenge is to making it so that they sound real, so that you believe them, so that it's conversational and not ready. You know, there are misnomers. People say, well, are you going to read your lines? Well, yeah. You can give me a read? Yeah, but you don't want it to sound ready. Is it going to be acting? Yeah, but you don't want them to hear you act. You want to live it. You want to be real. And that I think is important. And sometimes it can be hard. You go into a video game voice acting session and you were preparing for 1 or 2 characters and they throw 3 or 4 more at you. So you have to pull some stuff out the old wazoo. And but to me, there's nothing more thrilling. I absolutely love it. And like there's one that I've been doing recently that I've done before, but they have asked me to do some things that are a little different with it. And this is, the directors are like, you give them what they want. And so I'm excited about the new direction.
Yeah, I bet. It's amazing. It's truly impressive to see, like you talk about authenticity, you know, make like a character relatable, and to, you know, inhabit so many different characters across so many different properties and settings, but all of them feel like they really belong there.
They have to. It'll break immersion otherwise, and that's hugely important in a video game. You ever been playing a game or even watching a movie? You watch a movie and you're in this world, and then somebody shows up who obviously got cast because they knew somebody. And, you know, it could be even something as small as, I remember watching the thing with Kate Winslet, Mayor of Easttown, I believe it was.
Oh, okay.
And I was so into that world, and there was suddenly a scene in a mortuary where they're talking to the person at the mortuary who was just rattling off their lines somewhat like this, and it's suddenly like, oh, I'm watching a show. I'm no longer involved in this world and buying everything. Somebody who's not giving you real, who's not inhabiting that character, who's not believing what they're saying, but are just reading their lines and going over it like skipping it, they've ruined it for you. They've ruined the immersion. And when we go to a movie or we are playing a game, especially when you're in a world in a game and you're immersed in it, you're trying to go to a different world, a different place. You really do believe. I know that there are times that like I said, I told you, you go to that place between dreamfulness and wake where imagination reigns supreme. And that is the place that happens in your dreams, before REM kicks in, before you go too deep, and before you're awake, that place right in the middle. When you're starting to fall asleep and you can start hearing voices and you start to dream and you're drifting off. That is a magical place. That is a realm between our world and the world of sleep that anything can happen. And I think that that's where you exist when you get into a good program, a good show, a good game that takes you into that world. And if you, as a voice actor, want to give me a line reading that's stilted and wrong and you don't believe what you're saying, or you rush through your line because you think that punctuation is a suggestion and not, where you should breathe, I get pulled out of the game. It takes me a while to come back. It takes you a while to find your groove again. You don't want to do that to somebody. As a voice actor, your job is to believe, to live that role.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. That was
inspiring and beautiful. Thank you.
Very beautiful. That's wisdom right there. And you have so much experience. You've been in so many games. You've been, in this business for a while. I was curious, just while we're talking about the process of performing for video games, I was curious if you had any thoughts on, has that business changed much since you first kind of broke into it? Like when you were getting started there to the more recent games you've worked on, has there been a lot of evolution there?
The evolution is really behind the scenes, because when things start off, when things were beginning with video games, I don't think that a lot of the industry, the entertainment industry, realized what they had. Casting was different. I went through a local casting agency for Morrowind, for Unreal, for things of that sort. The casting agencies now come out of LA. You have to have agents. You have to have people who can recommend you. I was very lucky to be able to come up in a time when a local casting agent could recommend me for something, and I could go in, and it was a smaller group of people that battled for it. Some of the people that I worked with who did the voices with those games, they don't follow through with it. I don't know if they have the passion as much. One of the reasons I think I've stuck around is that I love it. I also am a bit of a gamer,
That helps.
Yeah.
I love getting involved. I will play the games. I will play the stories. Life does get in the way sometimes. We've all had those moments where we're like, oh man, tonight I'm going to play for just about half an hour, and I'll knock a little of this out, and then I'll get a good night's sleep, and we'll be fresh and ready to go in the morning, baby. Next thing you know, you hear those birds chirping outside, and your day is toast. Yeah. Oh, God. So
we've all been there.
Yeah. And so I can't always do that as like I used to anymore. But I love to take my time. I know that when I sit down and start playing, we're looking at 8 hours. My wife has enough time to file for separation.
Yeah, I think my wife's right there with you. Just, God, how long has he been down there playing games? Yeah.
Listen, if Downton Abbey became a game, I'd never get her off the thing.
There you go. It's all relative, yeah.
I would play it too if the Dowager would whip out some high weaponry and kick ass.
I just love to play.
What is a weekend?
I love to play in the living room while my wife, she just has Sims, and she'll just riff while I'm just playing this very emotionally intensive game where just someone gives off this really long monologue, and then she's just boring. Come on, man.
The reason we know we've married right is when they will take the wind out of your sails in a heartbeat. If you ever try to take yourself too seriously, let me tell you a story about my wife. Back when I was working with radio, I was working with HFS in the day, and they called me Wild West. The hair was a bit longer. I rode a motorcycle before I got married, and then the motorcycle went away. But they called me Wild West back then, mostly because of the comedy and the weird stuff that I do and all this. So we show up at a comedy club to make an appearance, and we're outside, and we're on the street, and these two young girls come up, and I'm there with my wife. We've only been married for about 2.5 months at this point. But we've been friends for our entire lives. But these girls come up, and they go, "Oh, my God, it's Wild West." And my wife goes, "Yeah, I've seen them pooping." And they're just like, "Oh."
Really takes the mystique and the magic really out of it, huh?
I looked over to what? Okay, I guess that was kind of brilliant. Okay.
That's amazing. Oh man. Yeah, so Wild West, I think really was infused heavily into some of your roles. I mean, this wacky comedic instinct that you have, like
improv.
I want to talk specifically about the improv.
Character creation. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I was curious about Sheogorath. You talked to us a little bit about your process for finding Lucian LeChance as a character.
Yeah.
Tell us about being handed the role of Sheogorath. What was that like?
Yeah.
And how did you figure that out?
Well, Sheogorath was very interesting because I found out they had tried a different voice at first. I think that they tried Jeff Baker, and they weren't, they were like, well, I don't know. And they tried me doing Haskell. And then they said, let's try it the other way around. And they had Jeff Baker doing Haskell. And they had me doing Sheogorath. And they said, we want him to be sort of unpredictable. We want him to be somebody that you can laugh at and then be terrified of. We're thinking somebody with a stand-up sensibility, maybe like a Robin Williams. And I thought, no, Robin Williams is a little too cuddly. Robin Williams is a little cuddly. Sheogorath, I'll skip rope with your entrails. So, and I thought, that's not, I had, this is a weird thing. Normally with video game characters, you don't get as much time to think about it. I had about a week ahead of time. So I really had a chance to think about it. They sent me a few of the lines. And I thought, okay, well, let me think of stand-up comedians. Who do I feel has a bit of a dangerous air? Now, there's some people out there who like Bobby Slayton, the Pitbull of comedy. He was somebody, but he's, I don't see Sheogorath as sort of like a Brooklyn kind of guy, Yeah. And then suddenly I thought, Billy Connolly. Yeah. Billy Connolly, Scottish comedian who is incredibly hilarious, who you feel like you could go for a drink with, but you feel like he might just kick your ass if you say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And
big time.
So, but I thought to myself, I don't want to just do an impression of Billy Connolly. I love him as a spirit animal. So Billy Connolly became my spirit animal for Sheogorath. And then I'm going over to the Irish channel after Caps games. I do announcing for the Washington Capitals. I'm the arena announcer for the Capitals. I've been calling every Alex Ovechkin home goal for a long time.
Nice.
So I'm in my 23rd year doing that.
That's amazing.
And so I go over afterwards occasionally to the Irish channel, and there's a gentleman with by the name of Tom Steck. And Tom's lovely. He's from Dublin. Not Dublin. He's from Cork. He'd be very mad at me for saying he's from Dublin. He's from Cork, Ireland. And I'd go over there sometimes to him, and he'd be like, Wiz, I know you love the Macallan, but I want you to try something else. We've got this thing. It's called Redbreast. Now, it's an Irish whiskey. It's not a single malt, but you'll find it's just as smooth and a little less expensive than the Macallan. So, I don't know about that, Tom. I really just like the Macallan. Well, hold on a second. Hold on. Bring us two. So we get those things, and I take a sip. I'm like, oh, my God, that's good. But that's only internal. It's very internal. On the outside, I go, I don't know, Tom. What, are you crazy? Are you bring us two more? So it took at least 3 of them for me to admit that it was really, really good. And so
had to twist your arm.
So I thought it was going to take 3 more.
Yeah. So I thought to myself, what is it that makes Sheogorath kind of different? Well, he's got mania and he's got dementia. So what if Sheogorath is not? He's not Scottish. He's not Irish. He's whatever he wants to be.
Yeah.
He throws affectations around. He loves doing this. So what if when he's excitable, when Sheogorath is excitable, he's very Scottish. I'll skip rope with your entrails. But then he's like, would you like to care for a bit of brain pie? Perfect! Care to donate? Now, notice that particular line, I had all 3 versions of Sheogorath. There's the Scottish angle, there's the Irish, and when he says, care to donate, and he drops it completely and just becomes malevolent. Yeah. When Sheogorath becomes malevolent, it all goes away. So I wanted him to be, I wanted him to go like Mercury, back and forth, never knowing what it was going to be. Yeah. I wanted the accents to throw you off. I wanted you to be like, oh, it's good to see you. How have you been? Lovely, I hope. Where you weren't you supposed to be doing something for me? Didn't you have yourself a job to do? So, could you tell that there was both Irish and Scottish in there?
Yeah,
but it's not a mixture.
Weird mix.
Yeah,
yeah.
It melts
a
together.
Mixture. It's a mixture.
Yeah.
It kind of melts together, which confused the hell out of people over in Ireland and Scotland, going, "Where the hell is this guy from?"
Yeah, no kidding.
And so my feeling is that there have been other people who have tried to do Sheogorath, who have done a different Sheogorath. But I don't think they got the mixture of the accents completely right. I don't think the malevolence was completely there. I think the clown kind of thing. And I think that Sheogorath, for me, is the Joker of the Elder Scrolls series. I'm going to be with Richard Epcar on this trip, who's played Joker before. And, I've run it occasionally. I see Mark Hamill. I love Mark Hamill, and they all do wonderful Jokers. And who wouldn't love to play the Joker? But the fact of the matter is, I've played the Elder Scrolls Joker. And I've been back ever since ESO had somebody else jump in, which broke my heart. Because all they ever have to do is ask me, because I'll be right there. But I've since been back in both Legends, Elder Scrolls Legends, and in Blades. If you look for Theodore Gorlash, which is an anagram, that is also Sheogorath. And so I've been back as him twice. So I'm always available to play him. He and Lucian and Hermaeus Mora, I think, for the Elder Scrolls for me, are very special characters, because they are all weird and unusual and different, and I got to put a little bit of different thought into them and bring them to all my characters are my babies, and I bring a spark of myself to each one of them, but those are special. And Sheogorath to me is incredibly special, and I think between Skyrim and Oblivion, Shivering Isles is always going to be my favorite. And if you listen to him switching at the end, I want to give spoilers away, even though it just had its 10th anniversary. There's still people playing it for the first time right now. Actually, Shivering Isles, no, it's been 15 years.
That's got to be at least 15.
Yeah. But still, there are people who haven't done that.
No, I will have to say that is also me. I have seen bits and parts, but I didn't have the console.
There's an emotional end to that storyline, and playing the emotional side of it, to me, to get to a point where you can make somebody care enough about a character that it hurts.
Yeah,
that's a privilege and an honor. The whole Lucy and the Chance thing. People remember that a lot also because of how that sort of ended up. One of the characters who's was popular enough to come back in ghost spirit form for Skyrim.
That's right.
That's such an incredible story, you finding the approach for Sheogorath, because that's such an informed way to go about it. Like, I think you mentioned, having played the games as a fan of them, to really, inform your approaches, and as research, as background, but also as just, for the love of the game too. But I think knowing the lore and knowing what kind of background Sheogorath as a character comes from, like, that he has aspects to himself, he has mania and dementia to himself, and that every now and then he has to let that mask drop, and you have to realize, no, this is a demon I'm dealing with, like, literally.
Exactly right. And not only that, he is forcing himself. Remember, Jigalag was so forceful in enforcing his own way on people that they cursed him to become Sheogorath in order to change him. But that aspect of him is still somewhat in there.
Yeah.
And even though he goes completely and pushes himself in the other direction to go for madness and chaos, because order to him is kryptonite, it doesn't mean that changed the deadly side of his attitude. I really want, even when he zaps you out over Suicide Hill and he's like, you shouldn't have done that. Ta-ta. Zap. It seems all so gentlemanly. It seems also he's being kind, but there's malevolence in there. I love a character that has malevolence under something that is seemingly friendly.
Yeah.
See, I think
deep.
you really hit the nail on the head saying that he is like the Joker of the Elder Scrolls series, because I just love how just completely unpredictable but deadly he is, and it kind of his madness is infectious. The way that he talks to the main character just puts you so off step that you're just kind of moving with the motions. You have to kind of match him, or you're just kind of like so confused, even though he's just talking to you directly. Like,
and I think Shivering Isles is very much more personal like that, because it's you one-on-one with him, and you really don't know where he's going to go. You really don't know. I mean, you really get the feeling that he could probably kill you at any moment.
Yeah.
And just try to attack him. You'll find out it's true.
We don't recommend that here.
No, I do recommend trying it at least once, but I recommend saving your game before you attack him.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, that's how you know. That's how you know Wes has real gamer chops. He knows that you quick save and then try something risky and dumb.
How many people at the end of their session have been like, you know what? I'm going to murder everybody in town.
More than once for me.
Yeah. You save. You have a save point. And you come back, and is it just me after you've murdered everybody in town, you go back to the original save, they're looking at you like...
They know what I've done.
Got a bad feeling suddenly, really.
They get some deja vu, like a disturbance in the forest. Like, we just dodged a bullet right now.
Why does my leg hurt? Like, with some of these very like iconic characters that you've done, like, has there kind of been a consistency to them, or have you just kind of like you found your niche and you just kind of like keep with that? Like, do you refine anything at all?
It depends. I mean, like I said, there's a character I'm working on now where it's being refined a little bit, and each time these things can be, because certain characters that I can't even get into. I'm just saying that let's talk about like a character that you get when pages arrive to you and you're just beginning it. And you commit to a voice. But as you're reading and you're going and you start learning more about this character and things start going, you start adding little things here or there. Here's the trick. It has to remain consistent with what you've already started. So it's almost like in improv, you say yes and. You can never say no. You don't say no to an idea, because that'll vapor lock, that'll stop you. But when you're building a character, you can build as you go. You can add layers, you can add things as you're moving through the story. And even with, say, Shea Gorath, even with Lucy and LeChance, these characters that you begin to get an idea of, and you build something in your mind of who they are and where you're coming from with it, you still maybe don't know where the story is heading. I really thought that Apple Watch was something you could wear on your wrist until I find out later in the game what that means. All I know is I ran out of lines to say. So I was just as shocked as anybody else to find out that Tiddlybits had a bad accident. Again, spoilers, but no, not unless you... Non-specific spoilers.
Right. I think it's been long enough. That's cool.
Yeah, staying consistent with your character is fine, but you can adapt and you can evolve. Yeah. You can evolve and you can adapt and you can change things, especially as the story goes along. Because if you find that a character has been fronting for something and there's something other than what they appear to be, you can play with that as you go. Ooh. That's part of the challenge. It's part of the excitement of working in a video game environment. And that's part of where the improv comes into being. Having done improvisational sketch work, as an actor, everybody has these ideas, has these dreams that they're on stage in their underwear and don't know their lines. You know, that nightmare does come and go. But improv makes that go away.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, yes, I'm in my underwear. And you just add on to it. Lucid dreaming is real. And lucid dreaming is what you're sometimes doing is you're working your way and living through a script.
Wow. Incredible. Yeah. Can't recommend improv enough. It's a lot of fun. I used to do it back in high school, but I think the value it gives you as an actor, just to give you that toolbox of I can roll with any situation. I can add to it. I can accept it and add to it and just go from there.
It works for life too.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I was curious, were there any like Sheogorath lines or any lines you've done for these games over the years that like you took, but like you gave your own spin to it, or you improvised them a little bit? Did any of the directors let you kind of play fast and loose with the lines at all, or?
I think once or twice I may have done something or said something, but you always give them what they want.
Right.
If you're going to play around a little bit, one, you don't do it too much because you don't want to waste everybody's time. You've got 4 hours in a studio and you've got a lot of work to do. The improv, I think, comes in the way you spin the line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, the attitude, the feeling behind it. Sometimes you're saying something and you're meaning something else entirely. Seriously, when you first asked your new wives out for a cup of coffee, you were not thinking you wanted caffeine. Okay?
That's
so
true.
You're saying one thing, you're thinking another. And the best lines in any game, the best lines in any movie, things of that sort, are when somebody is saying one thing, but you can tell they mean something else. You know? And look at any romance situation in any movie. Heck, any romance situation that you're in personally. Nobody comes right out and says what they want to say. It's a dance. And conversations are a dance. The words are just the steps. But my God, how you move within them, that's where the real improvisation begins.
Oh,
wow. That blew my mind a little bit.
Love
it. Amazing. I'll shift gears a little bit here. I was curious also about the Fallout setting. I want to talk about Fallout for a minute. Just it's Elder Scrolls is wacky and has so much going on with it, and it's so unique in so many ways. But I think Fallout similarly has so much personality, so much quirk to it. It's got like this retro futurism angle.
Oh, yeah. Since the very beginning, when you're looking at Fallout 1 and 2, I mean, that's why I think that Bethesda was so excited to be able to work within this realm, because it was a very bleak future, but it was stylized in the 1950s, and it was funny, and it was quirky, and you could find alien ships here or there, and, that's an exciting world and sandbox to play in. And when we did Washington, D.C., that was hugely fun. Being able to, when you have a Fallout that's in your neighborhood, it's kind of fun to see how much of it is close and how much looks like what it could look like. And they actually, some of it was adapted, but some of it was also researched. And the same thing with Boston. Same thing with Vegas. Some of this stuff, they know the areas, and if you go into some of these places and look around, you're like, oh yeah, I kind of recognize that. That's the kind of thing. And so that's very, very cool. I loved that they put it in that world. I love that. And here's what's important, I think, in no matter what environment you're in, whether it's post-apocalyptic, whether it's an ancient time like an Elder Scrolls, whether you're going into, say, a game that may be coming up like Starfield, and you're going into outer space. It isn't about the wastelands necessarily. It can't be about the castles, and it can't be about the towns and things of that sort. Those are all very important. Can't be about ships and this. All that stuff has to be right. Don't get me wrong. The most important ingredient within there is life, is personality, are people that you identify with. Even aliens. I've always said this. People are like, well, I don't know. They're an alien, so they wouldn't act like us. I'm like, no, you're wrong. They have to have the same emotions as us, because we're the ones that are playing with it, and we need to identify with them.
Right.
So we need to find people within humanity, or aliens, or whoever they're going to be, monsters, trolls, orcs, super mutants. There has to be a spark of something in there that makes us care.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is one of the most important ingredients no matter what you're in. And I think with Fallout, it makes us care about the people who are in there. It makes us care. We build these characters in these lives, and it becomes very important to us. People ask me, they say, when you play a video game and you're playing around all the characters that you voiced, who do you pay the most attention to? And I say, I pay attention to the character I am and that I'm playing. the characters I voice that I hear in the game, I'll listen to them once or twice as I'm going through, just to make sure it sounds right, sounds immersive. Am I throwing myself out of the game? Does that work? If it does, great. And I don't worry about it anymore, because the most important thing is the character that you are playing. Your world. Your world. And that, I think, it has to be in there. So heart and humor, that's what Fallout has. That's what they all have to have if they're going to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. You show such a deep understanding of the interactive storytelling, I feel like, because there are many mediums in which to tell a story. I mean, we've had films forever, we have books forever, we have TV for a long time.
But we're all storytellers no matter what the medium.
Exactly.
And with video games, I feel like there's a unique strength to it where, you have buy-in, you have, as the player, you are experiencing a story, but you're also making it happen yourself. You're driving it, you have agency with it. And it's so cool to like pick someone's brain who's acted in those situations, but also has such a deep appreciation for the player experience as well.
Yeah. And I do have the player experience. Oblivion for me was one of the best, because all the effort sounds as the Imperial were mine.
Yeah.
How cool is it to play a game where your character player, with all his fighting and grunting and screaming and running and efforts, are you?
That's right.
I mean, we make it about us. It's all about us anyway, but it actually was my voice.
So, and that really didn't like bring you out of it at all? Like, I just find that so, like, if I were in your position, I feel like that would be so hard to just not be like, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. That's me. That's me. It's me.
For a couple minutes, it's interesting. You notice it. But after that, you don't, because you're in the world. What I do notice is, like, when my sons were back at home and young and they were playing Oblivion, and they'd be in the back room and I could hear, "Halt, criminal scum. No, and it's like they're murdering their dad in the back room. They're chopping. I think in some ways that's very therapeutic. You kept them from actually killing me. They could just go in the back, chop dad up into little pieces when they're mad at me on the video game and all this.
If you catch your kids joining the Thieves Guild, is that grounding? Is that immediate grounding right there?
Oh, no. You're like, you pat them on the back. It's like, well done, son. Awesome. The only time my boys would be in trouble for killing a character of mine in a game is if they killed the Emperor in Skyrim but didn't let him get to talk first.
Yeah. That's the big offense.
That's a peeve of mine. That's a peeve of mine. And that's the thing. I want people to care. If you are going to eventually kill the Emperor in Skyrim, talk to him, because I guarantee you're not going to be feeling as good about it. However, he's going to ask you to go out and kill somebody else who set this all up. And that's Alexander Brandon, who I've run into Alexander Brandon at many different shows going, yeah, you killed me, but I had you killed.
Who's laughing now? Amazing. Great. Well, I think that's a good place for a break. We've covered. I feel like we could go all day. This has been amazing. But we're gonna take another quick break here from our sponsors, and don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back with more of our special guest, Wes Johnson, right here. So we are back with Wes Johnson, a legendary actor. You've heard him in so many video games, I'm sure. And we're picking his brain about acting, about gaming, about all kinds of stuff. And I wanted to pose this question for you. It's something that has been on my mind. Comedy as a discipline, and what it, how it informs acting in a dramatic sense. You've probably heard this talking point of like, oh, directors love to take an actor who's known for comedy, a really strong comedic actor, and give them something dramatic and serious to do. And you hear people say, comedians are some of the best actors in the world. Like we heard, Robin Williams was, given that praise sometimes. Jack Black, stuff like that.
Look at Nick Offerman recently in The Last of Us.
Oh, absolutely. There you go. There you go. So you think there's anything to that? Like, just the strength that comedy training and comedy grounding can bring someone when they're trying to do something serious.
Well, comedy has to come from someplace real. Sometimes comedy also comes from someplace dark. And we joke through our pain, but we are, in order to do that, you're in touch with it. And I think that a lot of the folks, there are some people who just can't get past the jokey nature of it. who will wear something on the surface as opposed to allowing it to come within. A lot of us wear emotional restrictor plates in this life because we want to protect ourselves. And they will not allow. Don't ever let them see you sweat. Don't let them see you cry. Don't let them see that you're angry. Don't let them see this. Well, in acting, you got to let them see it all.
Yeah.
You have to come naked to the world. Comedians, I think, can also be much more self-depreciating. It's also sometimes about timing. Comedians have this internal clock. They know where things are. I worked with Chris Rock once before on a film, and he was just like, you know, in comedy, the faster you say something, the funnier it is. That's sometimes true. Mm-hmm. But also, it depends upon the moment. Sometimes slow and steady will draw attention. It depends, but it is all about the delivery. It's all about the moment.
Yeah.
But Chris is right. Sometimes you just got to get that stuff and get it out and be natural with it. And don't pontificate, because sometimes people will oversell a comedy point. You know, they're like, here comes the joke. It has to be real.
Yeah.
It has to be real. It has to be in a moment, especially if it's a situational comedy kind of thing. Now, if you amp it up into different degrees, stylized, you know, nobody ever said that Rodney Dangerfield was doing lifelike, realistic things. He was very lifelike and realistic as far as Rodney Dangerfield is concerned, and he was hilarious, very funny. But he's the kind of guy who would bring in to be a bull in the china shop kind of thing. Bill Murray could do the same thing too, but Bill Murray aches to be a serious actor at the same time. You know, Jim Carrey, who can be one of the most gliding across the surface actors you've ever seen, can also sink himself. If you look at the Truman Show.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Eternal Sunshine of the
Spotless Mind, things of that sort. I think I've done a lot of comedy, and you can get typecast in that. But I've also done things that are more natural, more real. I played a character in this thing called Celtic Cross, which is a short that won a number of awards across the world for a short thing about a family at a funeral. And I was the drunk bad uncle. But you could have played that broadly, you know? But I wanted to play him. There are moments that seem bigger, but I wanted him to be real. And I think we succeeded with that. And we're working on a full feature-length version of that called Whiskey and Words. Jack Gorman is an excellent writer and director, and he's working on that now. So, you know, keep it going, Jack. We're ready to go.
I love that. Cool. So, Wes, some have said just, you know, since you have such a very long history with comedy, there's been just a lot of talk recently about, you know, whether or not the business of comedy has changed, you know, with the talking about taboo subjects or, you know, not allowing comedians to really thrive by pushing the envelope and boundaries. Do you know
what? Butthurt is real, Bruce. The butthurt is real. I got somebody mad at me the other day just because I made a joke about Madonna, for God's sake. I've been making jokes about Madonna since she first claimed to be a virgin, you know? And they had a picture of her up there at the Grammys, and I said, is this Voldemort cosplaying as Princess Leia? Which I thought was pretty funny. And they're like, how dare you? She may be going through such incredible pain. It's like, really? We're worried about this right now. You know, I'm sorry. Somebody's going to be there. Most other people came out after that and said, it's relax. It was a joke and it was Madonna. It's like, you can't even make a joke about the Kardashians anymore, you know? And it's like the world just wants to be butthurt right now. Everybody wants to be outraged about something. And if you want to go and say anything online, on the internet anymore, you'll be flamed up and down one thing. And the people who are flaming you the most are the ones who are complaining that they're the ones who are getting flamed. I am being persecuted. So because of that, I'm going to nail you to the wall and dox you and destroy your career. It's like, well, really? Well, how about we all just live and let live? How about we all say, you know what? Everybody's rights are everybody's rights. Trans rights are human rights because they're human beings. Right. You know?
Yeah.
That being said, do not tell me that I can't enjoy my Harry Potter book that I enjoyed with my kids or have nostalgia anymore. Sure. Because frankly, I'm not going out and saying I'm the world's biggest fan of her ideas, except the one she had about this magical prince. I'm going to be going to Universal after we get back from this cruise. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go on the Harry Potter rides. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get ourselves a butterbeer. And I'm going to enjoy myself. Yeah. And if anybody wants to come down with me, and if you have a T-shirt that rides up to here showing your belly button and 40 tattoos, or if you are trans and want to show me that you are a beautiful human being, let's all get together and have a butterbeer together. Remember, we're all human beings. And let's try to be nice to each other, like in the old days when we'd have Thanksgiving. And we didn't have to character assassinate our weird drunk uncle. We just knew he was our weird drunk uncle.
Right.
You know, back in the days when we'd ignore him, or we'd say, "Take a nap, Uncle Bob."
I think to some degree, just maybe being raised on the internet or just getting really used to the internet has made a lot of us way too comfortable with just arguing like over nothing.
Anonymity.
That too. Yeah.
You know. I mean, I'm on the internet as myself, so there's nowhere to hide if I say something that is stupid. And let's be honest, almost everything I say is stupid, so I'm in danger constantly.
No.
But that being said, you're being attacked by people who call themselves some code name, and get crazy. I had a guy today who, and I believe everybody's faith should be their faith. You have a right to worship whoever you worship. You have a right to believe whoever you believe. And he was getting all crazy about this whole thing with Rihanna. And he was going on and on and on. And he was throwing verses out, this here and this here and this here. Oof. And I'm like, well, you seem to be forgetting the one from Matthew that says, "Judge not, lest you be judged."
Yeah, seriously.
There you go.
How hard is that?
There you have it.
Yeah. How about ye who is without sin throw the first stone? Remember when they did that in Life of Brian? And suddenly somebody gets pelted with a stone. It's, nobody has any self-awareness anymore. They just have itches that they're ready to scratch. And after the pandemic, people are scratching so many itches. We've lost manners. We don't know how to shut up in movie theaters anymore.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. And if you go out to a restaurant, I go out and wear a mask in public because I voice things for a living. And it's not entirely COVID I'm afraid of. I've been vaxxed AF. Okay? I've been vaxxed AF. We're good with that. But it's your flu. It's your common cold. Mm-hmm. I ended up being on a set without a mask a few weeks back. Somebody there was sick but didn't tell anybody. And I ended up catching something, and during the Caps versus Penguins game, I start doing my my opening goal announcements for all the players coming on the ice, and it sounded like Darth Vader was strangling me as I was trying to do it. So my PA assistant had to take my place, and I took his place, and I had to go in and get steroids the very next day. And you know what the worst thing about steroids is? Sure, they can get you over cold and make you healthy again, but I didn't bulk up in the least.
What a ripoff.
Yeah.
Oh, man. No, I appreciate that. I totally get what you mean. It's just, I think, for when it comes to comedy, I do feel like there's something to be said with, sometimes as a comedian, you will put out to an audience, what you think will kill, what you think will be funny. And it doesn't always land. Sometimes the audience always kind of react with, that wasn't very funny. And there's like two ways you can take that.
When I do stand up.
There's like, the way I see it, there's kind of two ways you can take that. Like, okay, I'll just go back and adjust my material and, try again. Or I'll say that the audience is the problem. I'm funny. I know it. And it's your fault that you're not laughing. Like, I feel like some people have kind of leaned a little too much into that direction where like they'll say I'm getting canceled because no one finds me funny.
It's like, no, silence while
people
I'm on
live in their own bubble reality. They live in a bubble reality.
Yeah.
And that was exacerbated, I think, a bit by the pandemic.
Sure.
Hey, comedy is not pretty, as Steve Martin once said. And
true.
I also remember in a review of something that we did once before where the guy says sometimes good satire hurts to make a point. But here's the thing about comedy. You should laugh and you should think. And, sometimes, pick your battles. Sure.
Yeah.
Pick your battles. But, and is it worth it to say what you're going to say? But if you're going to say it and you're a comedian, find a way to say it funny. And not everybody's going to enjoy it. Not everybody's going to enjoy it. Right. You're going to see people, especially in this day and age, are going to be very fractious, and they're going to be divided. There are people you just cannot argue with in this world. And life is too short to try to argue with those people. So my feeling is, do what you're going to do, say what you're going to say, believe in who you are, bring your best self forward, try not to scratch that itch yourself, love people and talk to people about the things you do have in common, and then try at the end of the day to let it go and breathe, and you'll sleep better at night. You'll lock your doors better, but you'll sleep better.
That's more wisdom. We're getting so much wisdom. That's all beautiful stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And it's just, you get to a point in your life where you start learning all these things, and then people are like, I'm not listening to what he says.
Listeners at home, listen to Wes Johnson when he says this stuff. Take it as gospel.
Can you tell my kids that? Could you just give them a call and let them know?
Come on.
That would be great.
Listen to your father.
No, when you're the father, it doesn't matter. At a certain age, now it's coming around. They're coming around where they're like, oh, okay, Dad has a couple of good ideas. But there's a period of time in any relationship when you're kids, you're their hero. Dad is the hero. And then they start going through that little phase in the teen years called Whateverland, where the world vibrates at a slightly different plane. And they may be saying, yes, I should clean my room. But what it comes out with in the translation of the vibrational plane is, fine, whatever. And no matter what you say, you could be spitting out pearls of wisdom. And this is all they hear. You become the world's biggest moron. Everything you say is stupid. And then eventually they pass through the cloud and they have a little life experience. And then they're like, oh, you know what? Dad's all right. He'll be okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Guess he was onto something.
Yeah. You guys, just remember when it comes to your moms or your dads that you yourself went through Whateverland. And every once in a while, it doesn't hurt to call them and go, you know what? You're right. I appreciate it.
That's true.
Call your parents. True. They miss you.
That's true. Yeah.
I'll call them this week.
That's good advice, everyone. Hey, Mother's Day's coming up. Father's Day's,
Right. And Valentine's Day for those people who are into edible things.
we don't claim that part of the fan base, but they're out there, I guess. I don't know. They're probably out there. But no. I being a kid once myself, I remember my whatever phase, just where there's an ebb and flow to it. As a kid, obviously you idolize your parents, and then as a teen you just want to be your own person for a while.
It's natural. You've got to push for your own independence. That happens.
Absolutely.
You become a human being. You become who you are. And hopefully you get to a point where you realize, as far as friends and people that you can trust in this world, really, if you have 5 people in your world, 5 friends, you are rich. You are rich. Most everybody else are friendly acquaintances, but if you have those 5 people that you can really trust, you're rich in friendship. And I like to think that, your parents know you pretty well too. Everybody, of course, do have those parents sometimes that just, you can't do anything right. And for them, I'm sorry, just understand that that's them. Forgive them, for they know not what they do and what they give up. But you're all right. You'll be fine.
Big.
Do what makes you happy. Do things that are right because you know it's the right thing to do. And then again, sleep well at night.
Absolutely.
Wes, I'm sorry, could I just ask if you could just look into the camera just for us and our viewers, and just in your most fatherly voice, just say, I'm proud of you and what you're doing.
Oh, I am. I'm very proud of you and proud of what you're doing. You're on the right path. Keep it up.
Gold. Everyone needs to hear that right now.
Pardon me while I cry a little bit. That was clipped. We're saving that one.
My new ringtone.
Beautiful, amazing. Oh man.
Be true to yourself, man. That's all you can do.
Yeah,
that's all you can do. You can't be who everybody else wants you to be, because let's be honest, everybody else has their own agenda. Yeah. You be who you need to be. Be solid with that.
Yeah. I'll just say, I think turning 30 was a big epiphany for me. I'm 32 right now, but when I turned 30 a couple years back, I think so much of the insecurity and the neuroses of not knowing who I am, or so much of that melted away. I was like, no, I know what I'm about. Like, I'm fine with what I am.
And the 30s are a great productive decade, and the 40s
really
are great as well. And then the knees start to go by the 50s.
Up until then, it's a pretty sweet ride.
Yeah, I'll enjoy it for now. Yeah, absolutely.
As long as you can continue sucking that sweet, sweet breath, all is well.
That's right. Every day above ground is a gift. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't apply if you're dead. Every day above ground when you're dead it can be a little rotten.
It's bad for everyone
around. Sucks, yeah.
Yeah. The people around you, they're like, "Hey, is he doing okay on that lawn chair? Is he
should we do something about that?
We didn't have many turkey buzzards in this neighborhood before, did we?
Just create a toxic environment.
Oh man. So one last bit I wanted to get into is your relationship with the fans. I think that's something I wanted to get into a bit.
Yeah.
The fans of the Elder Scrolls games, I think it's plain to see that they really reacted to your performances in a big way. I think they really stuck with them. And I was just curious, what has it been like for you to kind of be this personality among the fan base and sort of?
Well, I mean, I'm a fan of it as well, and so when we talk about the game, I'm with them. I've played it, I've experienced the things they've experienced, and we can sit around. It's almost like, you're a Star Trek fan, you're a Star Wars fan, you're into Doctor Who. I can talk about any of those things, by the way, ad nauseum, and I can talk about the games like that as well. I feel that we are all kindred spirits. The only thing that bothers me is when someone comes up and goes, "Man, I've been a fan of yours since I was a little kid, and there's this person with gray hair and a beard in front of me." I'm like, "Oh man," Other than that, I really truly do appreciate meeting and talking with the fans. When you guys came by in the line that day at MagFest, they were telling me, they were almost zapping me in the badoobies with a stun gun, trying to get me to get people to keep moving, because I want to talk to everybody. Right. I want to have conversations. I want to know, oh, you like this? What did you like about that? Tell me, did you play this? Have you done that? I can get into it and we can all chat forever and ever. I love that kind of thing. And that's actually what I'm looking forward to when we come up on the King Khan cruise here in March, sure. Because we're all going to be stuck on a boat with nowhere to go but to talk about nerdy shit. Oh, man, I love nerdy shit. Excuse the language.
No, you're good. Please. That's perfect. That is something I noticed and I really liked about meeting you, was just I didn't get the feeling that you were like just going through the motions or just kind of being polite. Like you were legitimately excited to talk to people and to meet.
Yeah.
It was such a great authenticity. Like you were just as excited as we were. Like
yeah.
Was that day? Was I dressed in any of the Sheo gear that day, or was I just wearing the T-shirt?
I think you were just in the T-shirt, but you did have your the Wabbajack.
The Wabbajack is that's the kind of thing when I go out to cons around the country, and I go down to like Florida and I go on the ship. It's hard to bring a Wabbajack to those things.
Yeah.
Do
Security.
they let you fly with it?
No, security won't let me bring the Wabbajack.
It is a dangerous weapon.
That's a shame.
You imagine if I accidentally set that thing off and turned one of the pilots into a mud crab at the wrong time.
That'd be an international incident. Like, what the hell's going on with Delta Airlines?
Well, sir, we need some fire extinguishers. Someone got turned into a sprig in here in the middle of the.
Oh man! Wes, someday the Wabbajack will actually do that.
Exactly.
We'll all lose our minds.
Wes, I did want to see if I can get your opinion. If you had heard of back in the day, there was a thing called like YouTube poop, and like.
I've seen lots of YouTube poop.
And they had like a different one, just like they called it like gamer poop by like Manslayer that did like Oblivion and like Skyrim. YouTube
I've seen some of that. I've done stuff with like the Elder Scrolls lores. We did some things for them, Lorecast. This is Lore Party, but that was Lorecast. And we brought back Sheogorath and Haskell for one of them. I've done things for people like the Lefebvre brothers, but every time...
I saw that one.
Yeah. When I do things like that, I mean, I'm a member of the union and everything. However, I do them for charity. We do it for, the Alzheimer's Association. I lost my mother and my grandmother to Alzheimer's, and uncle, my brother's mother-in-law is got it right now very badly.
Wow.
And, you know, I feel strongly that we need to work for a cure for that. So that's why every year through Fallout for Hope, and if you follow at Fallout for Hope on Twitter, Guy there is just the most, you know, Kenny is the best guy. He raises money for them, for St. Jude's. We did some things this year with video game voice actors. Last year we did A Christmas Carol, which was voice acted, but it was in a Fallout 76 world as the visuals. And then we did a Fallout Christmas Story this year with Ralphie. Instead of, you know, the BB gun, it was a Fat Boy. We do the Voice-a-Palooza in the spring for Alzheimer's. Fallout for Hope's raised over $500,000 so far, but it isn't just them; it's gamers all around the world doing their casts, their streams, their Twitches, and raising money to put this all together. You know, people say that gamers are they're just playing games. They're not serious about the real world. Well, let me tell you something. I found that they are some of the best-hearted, hardest-working, most sincere people I have ever met, and they work hard to make positive changes in this world, and I'm proud to be a small part of that when we get together every year to help raise money. So, Kenny Vigu is the guy, Kenneth Vigu for Fallout for Hope. And if you follow me on Twitter, at Wes Johnson Voice, or on Instagram at just at Wes Johnson, anytime these things happen, we'll be letting people know ahead of time where you can tune in and have fun. There's nothing better than seeing Ellen McLean and the voice of GLaDOS basically doing the I'll have what she's having speech from When Harry Met Sally.
Oh my
Amazing.
God.
That's so great.
Yeah, we would love to hear that whenever that happens. Like, that is great. And it's so awesome to just like know that like these are characters that all these people, much like yourself, are just also applying to the fan base, the gamers, and for just the overall community to help
charitable causes.
So many
and that's the thing about these voice actors who have all been lending their time. You know, you just have to ask them, and they're there.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to be a part of this group. I'm proud to be a member of these voice acting communities. And let me tell you something. John St. John, who is, people know him as Duke Nukem, and they follow him online and wait for him to say something rude as Duke Nukem. Don't tell anybody, but he's one of the nicest guys in the entire world.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Your secret's safe with us.
Just between us, nobody's going to hear.
You got it.
No one will hear this. Don't worry. But no, it's all beautiful. I had one other question. I think I can probably wrap up with this. Or Bruce, I'll let you have a last word too.
Sure.
But being Sheogorath and just being characters that they've been in so many different properties or just different installments over the years, and it's kind of like you own a character long term. I think a lot of actors dream of something like that, like dream of having that one, or many characters in your case, but that character that people will continue hearing and interacting with for so long. And we saw that with the late, great Kevin Conroy, a hero of mine. Amazing
Kevin
person,
Conroy.
amazing actor.
As
Batman.
He was a terrific human being, and his Batman was peerless.
Yes, absolutely.
Mark Hamill said he may not ever do the Joker again now that Kevin's not around. That was one of his things. Well, you're going to do the Joker? He's like, well, is Kevin going to be doing Batman? Because they were peanut butter and jelly, man.
They really were. And that being said, I was curious if you thought, do you have any thoughts on just what a character like that means to an actor's legacy? Something that when someone thinks of that character, they immediately think of that actor. Is it?
Sheogorath has meant the world to me. It hurts me to think anybody else would be given that voice. I would voice him till the end of time. Lucien Lachance. Lucien Lachance was the first one to break the, like we say, the whole race thing with over at Bethesda. So he's very special to me. Hermaeus Mora is
More Dragonborn. He is one of my favorites as well. Tongue is a bit sideways in the mouth, but it's also sometimes a little more evil or just.
That is so cool to see.
Getting tingles.
Oh. So, I love them. I mean, I love these characters. I would love to do more Silver Shroud. For me to be able to grow up, I grew up a big fan of Mel Blanc, and I've gone out and visited his grave where it says "That's all, folks," out at Hollywood Forever Cemetery. I one time went out there and I put a rose because we were doing a comedy show there on his grave. Didn't have a stone to put there, but I put this white rose, and I was like, Mel, it's just me and him there. It's like I just want to let you know what you meant to me. Growing up made me want to do this, be who I am. I wonder if you were here, what you might say to me. Yeah. And right outside, suddenly a novelty car horn goes off on the street outside and goes, ba 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 da ba 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 da ba da 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 da. And all the hair just rises up into goose flesh on my arm. And I'm like, really great talking to you, Mel. Have a great day. Take care. Bye. So, but have you ever read this book?
Oh, I don't think so.
Mel Blanc's autobiography, That's Not All, Folks. It's a wonderful book. I always recommended it to my students, and I couldn't find my copy. I gave my copy, as it turns out, to Mike Rawson, who voices all the super mutants and is a dear friend of mine. Not super mutants, all the ghouls and things of that sort for Fallout. So I ordered this one on Amazon. And it was like $4.25, and I thought, $4.25? Why? It says, someone's written on the inside of it. And I thought, well, I just want to read it. I don't care. I just want to read it. So I ordered it, and then I got it, and I found out who wrote on the inside of it. It was autographed by Mel Blanc.
No way.
For $4.25. So, in a way, I think that might have been Mel finally answering me.
Oh,
that's unbelievable.
I have one of his autographs up on the wall on an old picture, old animation slide of Bugs Bunny handing an anvil to Yosemite Sam.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I also have an autographed picture over there of Tom Baker, and we've got some William Shatners lying around. I have my heroes, my little geek heroes, and
absolutely.
I guess we all do, don't we?
Sure, absolutely.
I hope you know that, you're that to us. Like,
you are a hero of ours, absolutely.
Well,
I mean,
go make me cry, guys.
You've got your signed headshots, and I've got mine back there.
Yes, we do.
Very cool. Oh, is that it there behind your head?
That's you.
You got the one with the microphone.
Yeah. That's I was like, we were at the table. I was like, that's the one I want. Yeah, no, it's a piece of pride, right there.
There's two different versions of that,
Oh yeah.
I lost 200 pounds. I was in a John Waters movie called A Dirty Shame. I played a character by the name of Fat Fuck Frank. Selma Blair was my girlfriend in an NC-17 film like that's ever going to happen again. I got to work with Tracy Ullman and Johnny Knoxville and Chris Isaac. It was way cool.
Wow.
But I weighed 360 pounds for a long time. But I started this skinny. My wife, when she would get pregnant, I'd gain sympathy weight. I never delivered. I just gained sympathy weight each time. And then, I decided finally to lose it all. I lost 200 pounds. I might as well have gone into the witness protection program. But the old picture in front of that very same microphone looks just the same, was me heavy. So when I still have a bunch of those laying around, I tried to get rid of them. I put them on sale. I had them out on the table. And one said Fat Elvis and one said Skinny Elvis. So you got a choice of which one you wanted.
This didn't sell well.
Some people bought it because that one was like $5.
There you go.
Like, I don't care. I'll take that one. More to love.
Incredible.
More Wes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd take one.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I also just had another question of just, you've already brought so many iconic characters to life with your voice, but are there any other roles or opportunities to play different characters someday.
I've always wanted to be in a Red Dead Redemption game.
Ooh.
There you go. That's a good choice.
I've always get me a nice Sam Elliott kind of role where I can be out there with my weapon. You get me a horse and we're going into town, buddy. I'm ready to
Rockstar. Get your shit together and hire him.
Don't know why you aren't already in Red Dead Redemption 2.
I've played them. I've played them ad nauseum. I love them. And in the original Red Dead Redemption, what is better than when you first ride that horse into Mexico and it's a whole musical interlude?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's peak gaming. That's a core memory of mine. I played the original Red Dead Redemption in college, and I remember that scene very vividly. Amazing.
Red Dead Redemption 2, I had a lot of trouble getting the guns to work the way I wanted them to at the very beginning. So I was shooting people left and right. I didn't mean to. So that's always, that makes you feel bad. That makes you feel a little guilty. Sorry about your horse, mister.
I may have shot a guy in the face on accident right after saving his life from some bandits once. Yeah, I've been there.
You know what? Saving his life was cool, but I think you negated that.
See, it's all about gun safety.
That's like letting Phil Lamar live just to take him out in the back seat of your car.
Exactly. It's gaining some karma, losing some karma.
Phil was very cool on one of our Voice of Paloozas. I got him. He signed one of his pictures to me of the Pulp Fiction thing. Now I just have to find Samuel L. Jackson, who's also in there. Get him to sign. You know?
Yes.
But
I love Phil Lamar. He's an amazing, he's a rock star. He's an amazing guy.
Phil Lamar is tremendous.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, he's a really, really nice guy.
Yeah,
he's a really terrific guy. And then super talented on top of that. Guys like that, you know, him, John St. John, John Patrick Lowry, Ellen McLean, Matthew Mercer, who just happens to be like super nice, incredibly talented, really smart, and fantastically good looking. You got to wonder, what lottery did he win, or is there a painting?
Yeah, really.
Is there a painting in his closet that's like, nah, you know, I don't know. But you know, humans don't come any better at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, tell Phil that we said hi, that we love him, and that we'd love to talk to him.
Yeah, if you can send him our way, just keep this train rolling.
I may be seeing him and a bunch of them at some cons coming up that I can't really talk about yet because nobody knows.
Fair enough.
But I love that. It's just more chances to hang out and meet people and to get to know them like you guys, which was just incredible. And I appreciate the invite. I appreciate you inviting me that day. And sorry it took so long for us to hook up.
Please.
Anytime. It's our pleasure. It's really just, it's an honor, really, for us.
Really
honor for me too,
so
gentlemen.
much.
Hey,
thank you so much.
Like I said, there's no party like a lure party. Although, really, seriously, you guys got to start swinging some more hefty hickory around there, you know?
If you can hook us up with some fine swatters, we'd be happy to have them. But, all right, cool. Well, I think we're going to wrap up here, but do we have any any last words if you want to plug anything else? Do you want to talk about Elder Scrolls Online at all? Or
if they call, I'm always there. Not really stuff I can talk about.
Sure.
At this particular juncture, but evidently, if you follow me on Twitter, which is Wes Johnson at Wes Johnson Voice, some people are spreading rumors out there that I will not be a part of. But
there may be some information out there you can look up and get
being
excited
spread
about.
by the creative director of ESO, really. So, I mean, I guess that's a
you have your sources,
reliable source.
Yeah, that's a fairly authoritative source. Very cool. All right, well, Wes, thank you again. This has been so much fun. Like, I can't believe it's over already, but
my honor, guys. Real pleasure, and we'll do this again sometime. And you let me know if you need. We'll try to, I'll refer all my friends out your way.
Thanks.
We'd love that.
And yes,
we'd love to have you again.
And again, if you want to come back, like, our doors are always open.
Now, if you do talk to Craig Seckler, who's the adoring fan, you've got to insist that he wears the wig that I gave him. I gave him this big yellow troll wig. We were doing a thing he couldn't refuse it either because we were doing the 10th anniversary of Skyrim at Bethesda Studios, and it was an online thing, and we had a bunch of people coming in with us who were on there. We had Paul Eiding was on there, and Jeff Baker, and Charles Martinet, and all these guys were coming in from everywhere around the world. And then Craig was right there in the studio with us, and I said, I have something for you, Craig. And he's like, what's that? And I took out this wig, and he put it on. And Craig has this incredible hair. I mean, he has been blessed with a head of hair like nobody's business, and he had to cover it up with this thing. So, but the fact of the matter is, he's worn it on his TikTok. Oh. And he did one thing there where he went on TikTok and did a thing as the adoring fan wearing the wig. And I'm on TikTok as well as Wes Johnson on there. And so I did a duet with him as Shea Gorath. I put on all my Shea Gorath gear and came in and started yelling at him as the adoring fan.
Yeah.
So we all have some fun.
Absolutely, you do. I bet.
Well, that about wraps it up. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please take a second to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us grow the show. And be sure to connect with us on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter at lore_party. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Make sure you review the Lore Party. Make sure you review it well. Otherwise, I may have to skip rope with your entrails and flay you alive, which would be fun. I'd enjoy that greatly. But no, I won't do it until you review. I'll be watching.